Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am excited because I have Mike Paschal on the line. Say hello, Mike.
Hi, how y'all doing?
I hope they're doing well. And Mike, this is your not first, second, but third time on the channel. I
Yeah.
think that puts you perhaps at the top. You might
I
actually
oh,
have first place, but
oh, sweet.
you
I want to name
there might be one other person. I think Keith Mateka might
uh
have beat you to the three-peat. Um, and
Keith.
yeah, and Peter Vaughn. But for those who don't know, certainly check out video one, video two. I think one was in 2016, one was in 2019. All things distribution. You are remind me your position at Peach State Hobby Distribution, PhD, also
Uh,
known as.
I'm the buyer and just other admin, I guess business direction type of things. But my main job is the buyer.
Buyer plus plus. And a buyer, for those who aren't aware, in distribution is the guy who looks at new products and figures out what you're going to buy and what quantities, and sort of pays attention to the market.
Yeah, and then when I'm not doing that, I die in Excel, looking
Yes,
at stock reports.
spreadsheet man.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I thought would be great to talk about, or not great isn't probably the right way to put it, but interesting at least to talk about,
Yeah.
is sort of distribution today, right? In the industry today. We've gone through all these changes, sort of the initial hard stop with everything happening with the pandemic. And then, things have been easing up, but there have been, it's just whiplash, supply chain and shipping and retail, yada, yada, yada. So, why don't you start there? Where what is the world like how from your angle? What do you see?
Well, I mean, you said like that's a perfect word, whiplash, right? Like that's where it is. Because let's back up a bit. For those that don't remember, March is basically when the country or the U.S. just like stopped doing business for a while, right?
Right.
For at least a couple weeks, everyone was like, "No, we're done."
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time, right? Everyone was really scared and worried, like, what's going to happen? A lot of retailers were panicking. Because they're small businesses, they need to keep product coming in, right? And we can't ship anything, so it was interesting then, but everything kind of leveled out a bit. And in 2008, we had the recession then, and it was very similar in terms of what people could spend their money on for entertainment, and they had to bring their spending down from taking the family of four out to the movie theater, which I'm sure you're very well aware how
I'm
expensive
sure.
that. It's an ungodly fee versus a $15 card game that you get for X, multiple nights. So
Right.
a lot of people, that's where they went. They went into puzzles, right? Puzzles saw a huge
Huge,
resurgence.
huge. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there was one vendor I put in an order, and I was talking to him on the phone. He just started kind of laughing. He's like, "Yeah, our backlog on puzzle filling is 8 to 12 weeks,
Wow.
and I may, if I'm lucky, get a 50% fill rate
Right.
because it's just." And that's what's happened, right? Um, Stock availability has become king versus product
Hotness.
product type hotness. Yeah, product availability has become king, um, and things that you can do at home, right? So we've seen not just to get out of the gaming side of things a bit, hobby supplies, right? Like paints and brushes
Oh,
and
sure.
glue. Everyone that has those gray armies they've been amassing for years,
It's
they
time. It's time
now
to paint.
yeah, they now have the time to lay some color down on that plastic. So that's what we've been seeing. It's more about the availability that puts the value on your product line than anything, and that didn't start becoming a problem for a lot of vendors that I dealt with until probably about a month, probably about like 2-3 months ago, because all those shipments were already in all those, the printings and whatnot were all lined up, and
Previously, right,
freight
right.
were lined up prior. Now that there was that 3-4 month gap where nothing could happen, that finally started hitting, and I'm seeing some vendors now where we're just having. I had a vendor 2 weeks ago sent me an email and say, "Hey, we're not getting any replenishment shipments until January.
Wow.
Like, we're not even in the holiday season yet." And this vendor's just like, "Nope, get what you
Done.
can now, because I don't know what we're going to be able to get." So
Well, and so
it's been interesting. It's been really interesting, a interesting problem to solve. Um, and I don't think there's solutions for a lot of people. Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's a hard problem that's immovable.
for sure. And I mean, and sometimes it's not predictable. It's a little hard to follow. Like taking Pencil First Games, for example, we hit it really rough because we were launching the 100 Tory right in March. And so, like, literally, we went into solicitation telling distributors it's available. And then Impressions and Aldo at that point basically said, factory's closed, nothing shipping. And so it sort of
Yeah.
sat and sat and sat. And that wasn't a short period of time. That was almost probably 6 weeks, 2 months, something like that. And eventually they opened up and then everything came together. So that was like an example where, and it just, I don't have the ability to like restart a marketing campaign and all that kind of stuff. So that was really rough. On the other hand, during that period, Herbaceous got a little recognition because Dice Tower gave it #1 relaxing game. But in general, it's an easy to play. You can play it with, you're not just your gamer family, with any family. And sales for Herbaceous, like, outsold this year to in June. We outsold all of last year, right? And
Well,
so,
that's those type of games that have seen they've stepped back into the spotlight, so to speak,
sure, sure,
or just took it over with a vengeance. Those types of games where have done what's been doing really really well. The family friendlier games,
yeah,
where you basically anything you would take to game night with your friends that are wanting to have a Stefan Feld point salad kind of night. Those just didn't move.
yeah.
It was the Munchkins and stuff, which yes, those things that you can play with your family.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and then, yeah, we saw Skulk in the middle. And so it's just really been interesting. It's really hard to predict as a publisher, I think as not even just the publisher, everybody, which way the market's going and how. And there's also like, the proliferation of people playing digitally and on many platforms that aren't necessarily set up to align to your business, right? Like it's neat to have Heroes Welcome, for example, available on Tabletop Simulator, but it's not like a revenue stream. It's more of like an awareness and engagement. You hope they like the game, and then eventually they buy it, right? In terms of but you guys aren't the front for Amazon, I don't believe. Like you're still all of this product is selling into retail. Do you have an insight into like that? I would assume. I don't know, every state's different, right? But I would assume most board game stores still don't have everyone walking in, or maybe they're walking in, but they can't do any of their events. Like, can you describe, do you have a good sense of the board game retailer scene right now? I mean, not you're in distribution, but you deal with them a lot.
Yeah, I mean the board game side of things, it's very much like any kind of store that you would be going into, like a grocery store or whatever, right? So if your state has limitations on people that can go in with a certain percentage, the store only lets that many people in there. And the stuff that you're used to going to the grocery store, right? But stores, I got to give it up to retailers. They had a bit of an uphill battle, right?
Sure.
Like us as a distributor, we're not a public-facing company.
Right.
So if we're open, we closed every location but our Florida location, and we were shipping orders out everywhere there. We can still do business like normal as long as our customers
Right,
are
as
buying.
long as people are buying, right?
Yeah. So I mean, for us, it was just like, okay, we limited the number of people in the building and spaced everybody out.
Right.
Like I've been at home since I got back from Gamma. Right. So the last time I was in the office was March 6th.
And even Gamma, I remember that to me, that felt borderline. Like that was right when people are like, are you really flying and meeting with people? A lot of international, not publishers, but partner, publishers, I guess, didn't end up going to Gamma. That was like that was like the last show that actually occurred, right? Give or take.
That was basically the last week of, lack of a better word, normal operations in the United States. Because the very next week was it was panic stuff. Like I said, I didn't go back I didn't go to the office. I stayed home. Um, so yeah, that was a weird. It's a weird vibe at that show. It was a really weird vibe because of it. But whatever. And no one, I didn't hear a single thing about anybody getting sick, which is thank God for that. So that was good.
Yeah, I think at that point it hadn't. There was a lot of fears, but it was still probably pocketed enough that it wasn't at where it is now, where it's basically rampant
Everywhere.
everywhere. And so okay, well, so I over all of our calls, you've always had different thoughts and recommendations for publishers. Uh, you know, when you look at the market today, we're heading into October. It's this will probably, I don't know. I'll post this video right at towards the end of September, and we're heading into the holiday season to some degree in October, November, December. You know, what are you looking for from publishers? What are your expectations of publishers? What would it be good if what would you recommend to publishers?
Yeah, that's a for bringing on new
I
products.
don't know. Should you hold games?
Yeah,
Should you still ship games? Should you just try to squeeze in a reprint? I mean, it's almost too late for that for the holiday. I mean, what do you want people to take a pass? Like, what do you think?
a couple months ago, if I could have said something to somebody, if they were looking at either bringing out a new product or putting their money towards a reprint of something they know sells, definitely do that reprint. Definitely.
Right.
Unless you have, there's some publishers that have pivoted and they've shifted a lot of their efforts into doing a lot of more direct sales or a lot more just online sales in general and really dove into that. But that takes a lot of resources to build that back, to
Sure.
build that up when you've been relying on a 3-tier system for wholesale. So I would have suggested you put your money where your restocks are. Last holiday season, we saw actually the last 2 holiday seasons, it has been one of the topics we talked about before is just the saturation of products coming out,
Right.
and it's gotten better. It really has. There's still some that are just slinging spaghetti at the wall, and almost everything's falling. But it's definitely getting better. The deluge of products coming to wholesale. But what stores have been doing, they have been double downing during the holiday season on the things that they knew how to sell back in 2013,
Sure.
because there's so much product coming out. And this year, there is a lot of product, but there's not, it definitely has been. But these stores, what they had to do during this time is they've had to re-diversify what they do and the services they offer and the products they offer. A lot of stores brought in, little tchotchke keychains and stuff like that and other little things just to sell. So stores are most likely, and this is what our sales are right now, it's those evergreen titles that they just keep going up and up and up and up every single month. And that's where stores are going to put their money again this year. You're going to have them buying hot things here and there, right? That's going to happen. But the bulk of their holiday purchasing are going to be titles from 2019 and earlier.
Right. And
I
then
know that releases this year, it's a crapshoot what's going to survive, in all honesty.
yeah, no, it was very hard with Tori.
No.
And so, but it seems like we're still in a period where, this is going to extend through into the new year. I'm certainly it'll be very hard for folks to not see their families over the Thanksgiving holidays and over the winter holidays. So I expect there'll be some uptick in cases during those periods, and then have to settle down. But again, it still seems like gaming, local gaming with a bunch of people at stores or events or tournaments or those big draws aren't going to be there. Has there been any retailers that have done anything interesting or surprising that you thought was very effective? Like stories of a store doing something a little different right now that's worked for them? Or is it just stores that are reacting and buying the old titles and the puzzles faster that are doing the best?
Yeah, I mean a lot of stores, and this is kind of where I was getting at a little earlier. is, I got to give them a lot of credit because not only did they do things themselves, but they've also been helping each other out with, hey, I did this and it worked out really well. So it's not, like I said, they've been diversifying some of their product, but a lot of the things they've also been offering different services and the different ways that they're selling you their products. Some stores would turn to like a delivery service, making themselves, they're kind of like their own, Instacart for board games and driving around town delivering things. So it's been interesting, the perseverance and the just, like I said, just pivoting into something different that they weren't doing before. The
Right.
easy button is to just buy something different, right? That's just, let's bring this in and see if it works. But I've seen total just system overhauls for how stores operate. The other thing that I saw, stores that were comfortable and they didn't have to hustle too hard. They took this time to remodel, renovate,
Sure. Renovate.
renegotiate their leases because right now, leases are really low. It's a buyer's renter's market.
Sure. Sure. Couldn't imagine starting a store right now. It'd be super rough. Um,
If you don't have the experience with it, no,
yeah. Yeah.
no, it's not easy.
And so okay, so getting back to sort of the buying part of what you're doing, right? So like to some extent, it's you've worked in the industry long enough that you're pretty familiar with what those age old classics are and what people are going to respond to. But when you're looking at those new titles, you know, how is the current environment changed how you look at buying and what titles you buy and quantities and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, price point. This was already going to be the year of $30 and $40 games.
Right.
It was already going to be that. That's just how it was going. So even more so, if it's got a really good price point and it offers, it's got to look good. I mean, I can't. I was in a conversation a couple weeks ago, and the conversation was, is a good game okay if it's got bad art, or is a okay game, which one's better, right? Good art or bad art? And I can't. Today's market, it's gotta look good because you're going to be playing with, uncles and aunts and other people that are in the house that can't just kind of like look at an old railroad 1800 hexagon game and get excited about it. They're not going to care. They're going to be bored out of their mind, right?
Right.
So price point and just the aesthetics, it's got to look good.
Well, and you said something interesting there that at least I'm curious about. When you said it was already going to be the year for $40 and $30 games, like what trend in the marketplace was that responding to when you say that?
Just the number of products that were out there. It's just people that there's so much product coming out. The card game companies have increased the frequency that they are releasing products. So that's going to more frequently grab up capital that the stores have, as opposed to a 3-month gap. They've got a 2-month gap, or there's, instead of a 3-month release, there's a 2-month release now with special sets in between. So really, you only have 2 or 3 weeks on either side of that where capital is not being consumed entirely.
And when you're speaking capital, you're saying the capital of the store's ability to buy stuff. It sounds like you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Now that's twofold because the market's really good, so they're buying a lot and they're selling a lot, but it's still buying a lot that's sucking up all their capital. So those $30 and $40 games are king. Those are things that are good. Stores don't have a problem if they see a game that's $30 and $40 sitting on their shelves versus $100 game that moves. It moves once every 2 months or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, and it was a good time, I guess. Talking about the big game, Gloomhaven, and then hitting with Jaws of the Lion or Lion Jaws or whatever the name of that one is. But that was Target exclusive though, right? That wasn't going to game stores, or was it also going to game stores?
So yeah, it was different. It had a 1-month exclusivity at Target, and then it came to Hobby. It was either 1 month or 2 weeks. It had a small window. Yeah, and it it didn't affect it. It's still just flying off the shelves.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm still to this day amazed by Gloomhaven.
Sure.
Because Aldo also, he sells that.
Sure.
So I remember seeing on a Kickstarter, and the first Kickstarter he didn't have. I mean, he did good, but he didn't do Gloomhaven good at that point.
No, not that yet, not yet.
And then Aldo sent me the product information, and I'm sitting here reading this thing, blah 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 blah, $120, 22 pounds.
22 pounds. 22 pounds.
And I'm just like, it's going to cost me like at minimum like $18, $20 to ship by itself with an extreme discounted freight. That's insane.
Yeah.
There goes all of my profit on the normal margins that we set, right? And I remember calling Aldo and be like, Aldo, this has got to be a joke, right? Like, this is insane. This is not going to do good. I'm like, put me in for 80. Like, I think 80 was what my initial number was on that phone call. And that quickly changed, right? The backers got it, and it just blew up.
Yeah.
And then I wound up getting basically less than that from our initial allocation.
Yeah, well, didn't he have to? He had to do like a crazy reallocation on that one, didn't he? He's like, you're going to get 10% of what you asked for, so here's your 8.
It was bad. It was bad, but I mean, it's, and that's part of that. It was bad, and that was one of the games that started the conversation. Our last conversation that we had, because our last conversation we also talked about Wingspan, and we were talking about the allocation issues.
Oh, that's right. Well, look at you remembering conversations.
Well, I remember filming that and thinking, like, man, Jamie's going to get mad. Oh, well.
He got through that. He got through it, no problem.
Gloomhaven was, I mean, it caught everybody off guard. He just didn't print enough, period. And then when
hold on. Though, like, sure. I'm sure that was a very expensive amount of product for a small company to have to go do, right? Like, I mean, I don't know that he had the cap. I mean, that's $120 at retail, but it's certainly not cheap outside of retail.
No, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap thing at all. I get those inventory reports every day when I see that giant block of dollars in the warehouse. It's moving, but it's still a lot of money. Yeah, and it wrapped up in a singular game. But anyways, we're kind of deviating here from.
Well, it's all interesting stuff. Well, I guess, but I mean, I don't want to ask you about a specific problem, but like those heavier titles that, were sort of the big thing in 2019, it sounds like, they're struggling a bit this year because those types of gaming environments aren't around as much anymore in the current environment.
No, they're not coming out like they were. Definitely. Those $100 Boxo miniatures types of things, they're definitely not coming out like they were. No. Gloomhaven still does great. Some of the bigger games that have always done good are still doing fine because they fall into the Evergreen category, right? But yeah, you're not really seeing them come out. And when they do come out, they stand out because they're by themselves, and they just stand out if they've made it to distribution at that point, and they're that dollar point. So.
Interesting. Well, yeah. We just I went super conservative, and this was still ahead of all this going on, and maybe there was a hint of it. I don't remember when I probably had some insight, but when I was so the Liftoff Expanded Deluxe Edition, which is a family weight game, a little expensive for that category, but I was thinking about it, and it was really a sort of a Kickstarter for the original backers, and I just was like, I'm not going to overdo this print. I'm basically going to do the minimum, and then if it does well, I can always do another run if I need to. But it's really hard to bet into this. It's really hard to know what to bet in. That
decision, because I mean, the first print. Well, you didn't print a whole lot of that,
right?
And it didn't. Now I'll say this: it's not allowed to leave my house. My wife won't let me. Like I've tried to take it to flea markets, and it winds up finding its way back to my board game shelf. Not allowed to leave my house.
Did you and I'm not offended either way, but did you back the upgrade kit or the new edition?
No, I didn't. I honestly, when you were talking about it, I was thinking, I'm like, what's he talking about? And then I started having memories of the deluxe thing, but I don't remember the Kickstarter being out there.
Oh, now, it was really short. It was only 2 weeks.
When was it? If it
October.
was between October of last year,
Yeah, I mean, it just went to people this week. You're gonna get a solicitation for the game in a month.
okay.
Yeah, you totally missed it, man.
Yeah, I did miss it. I did miss it. Yeah, it's. I tell you, for me, it has been a bit of a blur since February of last year. I've just had personal heavy loads going on, and just business has just been crazy.
Yeah,
So I've missed. I mean, I feel like I've missed a couple years because of COVID in general, but
yeah.
I really feel like I've missed all of last year and this year definitely.
Well,
So
I have a piece of paper here, and this piece of paper is saying you're getting a product.
okay,
So I will confirm your. I think I have your address, but I'll just double check it, um, because
cool.
you will get some more play out of that. But anyway, we covered a range of things. It's really, I know, very interesting times. I mean, do you? Okay, I guess one other question. There has been this swing towards simulate tabletopia, tabletop simulator, online gaming. While on video, that kind of thing. Um, are you like? Has that digital experience, like, as a distributor, are you using that tool in any way? Are you using it with retailers? Is it something you're using with publishers, or is it really sort of not? It's not really touching your business at all. Those types of systems and tools and stuff.
Not really, but one of the publishers out there that has done really good with using online tools and what have you has been Czech Games. So Tony over at Czech has done. I mean, they were having there's like another company out there that made a Codenames knockoff
Sure.
and running it online, and that forced them to just make their own Codenames online.
Sure.
And it just happened to be around the COVID thing, so they started doing COVID online, or not doing COVID online, Codenames online, and been doing all these shows, and now they are going to do this upcoming weekend. They're going to have their own little virtual con show of some sorts. Now, of all the ones I've seen done so far, this one I think is going to be the absolute best one that'll have been done so far for the end consumer.
Cool.
Because it's set up like I don't know what any of the programs would be called. You would know because you have kids, like a virtual chat room kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, set up like that, like a fairground where you walk around to different rooms and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they were back. I know that different conventions have been trying to do that as well. There's different ways of sort of taking that online.
They've been catastrophic. Did you see that mess that happened with Gen Con? That like COVID germ of a layout of the floor map?
I didn't. I mean, like, so I was, after everything was going on, and I wasn't attacking those conventions this time around, and actually I was involved in the weirdest way because, like, Blue Orange Games, which is based in the Bay Area, was basically like, hey, can you host a, like, virtual booth for us and do, like, a virtual booth video for Origins? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it ended up being interesting because they sent me, like, their entire lineup of games from 2016 forward. Like, basically because I was like, well, I'm going to do it right here. Are you cool with, like, all my games behind it? And they were like, well, we wouldn't mind if it wasn't all yours. And I was like, well, I have a couple Blue Orange, but if you want stuff back here, send me. And, like, somebody just said, like, send him everything. And so I got this huge, and actually, like, they make some good games, but I got this huge set. And anyway, and then I started doing that, and then Origins was canceled because of all the stuff that was going on. And then they ended up asking me, well, okay, for Gen Con, can you do one? And I did one. I taught like some session with photosynthesis, the expansion, and whatever, Meeple Land. But it was weird. I mean, so I guess the answer to your question is, other than hearing publishers complain about it, I wasn't really paying much attention to, like, the drama of the floor layout. And I remember the thing where it was like, based on what you got was how small your icon was in the advertisement for it. But Tell me more. What other things happened?
Honestly, that was it. Because that is your, as an end consumer show goer, that is your first interaction with that thing, right?
Right.
When it happened, when it launched or whatever, I clicked on that thing one time. I looked at that layout, that
Whatever that thing was.
whatever that nebulous of icons was, and I mean, I just laughed for about 3 minutes, and then I never went back because I wasn't gonna waste my time with that.
Yeah.
A waste of time to navigate through it.
Yeah, I just don't know if they figured it out yet. Like, I wonder. Like, there seems.
Task, right? Like, this is a show that's been going on for.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had to do something. I don't disagree with that, right?
I shouldn't come down on anybody, but.
Yeah, I mean you're still Mike, but I think that I feel like the smaller cons, the more intimate things with the social media social content creators have been interesting, social whoever they are, and then I feel like companies that have been doing their own thing and attracting their audience and engaging, like that kind of one-to-one is. The amalgam one hasn't. I mean, there's the PAX thing came in. I feel like the more overhead you have on these things, the more it just isn't going to make sense. Has been my limited view experience.
It's difficult to. It's just difficult to do that with an online show. You're not going to get that hype walking the floor by clicking through different rooms. But what you said about publishers doing their own thing, and that's been the interesting thing and the really cool thing to see publishers getting the time to kind of embrace that and engage with their customers, like actually engage with their customers, not, hey, our product's coming out in a couple of weeks, get your pre-orders in with your stores or order through our website or whatever. Like, hey, I'm going to be online for the next 4 hours writing, Julie from Greenbrier does it. She'll be online, and I'm going to be writing for the next folklore or whatever for the next few hours. Drop in and say hi. That's been really good to see, and I think that'll be, that's what a lot of the stores kind of did when this happened, when they lost their customers from coming in every week. They had to figure out ways to stay engaged with them.
Right.
And I made a few suggestions, like because when that happened, when we got locked down, that's also when Animal Crossing took over the world.
Good times.
That's when
my wife has finally sort of slowed down on that. She was pretty into it.
Yeah, the entire game industry was. We were all just there playing Animal Crossing all day on the weekends and whatnot. But stores were starting to engage with their customers through Animal Crossing. Can't remember his name. Scott Morris did an Azul. He made Azul on his island, so people could come and play Azul on there.
Oh, that's fun.
They got creative with what we had and what we were using. So that was interesting to see, and it wasn't necessarily about sell. It was, hey, we're still here, and we want to engage with you.
Right. What
we want to show you what we're doing.
What? So are you? So okay, I think probably the last question here, but like on the distributor side, with PhD, like, what are you guys doing to sort of bridge that gap and work with publishers and engage? Are you guys still doing are you doing any sort of engagement in that regard, or are you just sort of dealing with it as it comes?
So what because I knew what the problem was going to be immediately when things started shutting down. It was going to be this just log jam, this hard log jam of product that's on boats or in warehouses or on a truck in the middle of Kansas, and it now can't go to its destination warehouse. So what I was doing with publishers and with our retailers, with the publishers, was doing a lot more communication of logistics. Right.
I got all those emails. Oh
yeah, all the emails about different things. So it was more about, hey, this is what's going on in our warehouses. This is what you need to be aware of. And I asked for all the product updates send it to me so I can get it out to all our retailers. So I try to be as open both ways communication in terms of logistics,
Right.
because that was going to be the biggest problem, and the thing that we could solve is giving people answers on stuff.
Right.
Because it was going to turn into, and it did just turn into this big question mark on everything. So I did the best I could to get information and answers on the flow of product and where releases stood.
Right.
As a distributor, there's not much that we can do. Like, we talk to our customers on the phone every day, every week, every month, like constantly. We engage with them through emails. So we kind of, and we didn't want to, in the early parts of COVID, we didn't want to jam marketing and sales down our retailers' throats.
Sure.
We didn't want to be, not that anybody was sleazy at all, but we didn't want to be sleazy.
No. Yeah, everyone was giving everybody space, or it should have been.
Yeah, so I mean, we knew, like, we can't do marketing because no one's buying anything right now. No one's been planning for anything. So what do we do? So we turned to focusing on gathering as much, government assistant information that we could, and compiling it and putting it. I mean, we still have a big COVID section on our website for links for assistance programs and what have you.
Right.
So that's what we did for our retailers. We tried to gather as much resource information for business for them as we could, and tips and tricks, so to speak, that other businesses have done to help during COVID times, and how you can change this up and whatnot. So that's kind of what we did. We turned into a help mode as opposed to a sell mode. And we were still selling things, but there wasn't a whole lot of new product coming out. We were just selling, sleeves, and card games never really stopped. So card games just kept selling. So yeah, we just turned to helping. Yeah. And I'm still just compiling logistics issues that the industry is just kind of having. And
it's crazy.
Getting out as best as we can, yeah. And not many people, unfortunately, I shouldn't say not many, but fewer than I would have liked to seen they amped up their communication. And that's the thing that I learned. I knew it before, but this kind of put a nail in the coffin for publishers, is like communication on the status of your product.
Yeah.
Catalog that's crucial. As I said early on in this conversation, the availability that's your best selling point.
Yeah.
And if you're out of a product and I don't know that you've done a reprint, and I don't know that it's on a boat, and I don't have an estimate of when it's going to be landing, I don't care. I mean, I do, but I can't enact on it. If
Sure.
you tell me I've done a reprint, it's on this boat, it's going to dock in 3 weeks, it's going to take a week to get to my warehouse, you should have it by the end of the month.
Right.
I can do something. I did that like 12 times today. When I got that information, I passed it on to retailers that I do have direct communication with myself, and then to our sales staff as well, so we can tell everybody, hey, this is my update list of products.
Hey, man. Herbaceous. Back in stock.
I know,
Available.
I restocked it already.
I know.
I restocked it already.
Yeah.
I saw it on the thing, and I was like, oh, perfect. Because I just went out of it. Out of 2 of my locations like a month ago.
Yeah.
So, because I knew things were going to do what they were going to do, so I had a little bit of stock on it.
You guys always do a good job with Pencil First Games. So,
Fine.
yeah, and yeah, it's crazy. Well, I mean, I think that the hopefully it's helpful perspective. As you've seen, I don't have the largest channel, but people creators and publishers tend to check it out. Huh?
You have a very interesting channel.
Interesting content.
I watch a lot of people's channels. I typically watch every one of your episodes.
Oh, well, thank you.
Because it's not the same fanfare. You present questions and challenges like you did a couple days ago with a good idea concept.
Ideas versus execution. Yeah.
Dime a dozen kind of thing. So it's an interesting conversation, and makes you think about what you're doing. So I like your channel a lot.
I appreciate
that content that you put out there, because it's not just. Honestly, I can't find this content anywhere else, and not to downplay Dice Tower at all. but I can get Dice Tower content
Sure.
anywhere else, kind of
Sure.
thing, right?
I did.
Don't downplay
I did
right?
like the where is Tom Vassell wrong video where they all got around and talked about all the ways he's wrong, and then he did the reaction video to them
Oh, did
also.
you do one of those?
Yeah, he did a reaction video to their video, and then Z did a reaction video to his video about their video. So I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
have to watch that because I got a top 10 list of things that Tom Vassell did wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's just be clear. Not did wrong. It was rating games he's wrong about.
Rated wrong.
Yeah, rated wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I found it entertaining, and they clearly did in making the video. So, but well, anyway, I appreciate the kind words. You are in the top tier. We'll have to schedule another time on so that you can just.
He's got a knife fight. That's what it is.
Yeah, see Keith, because Keith has been on a few times where we've talked about something and it wasn't quite an interview, but like I think his stage appearance, I think he might have it. I'd have to. I've never actually looked.
I don't doubt it.
There aren't very many who are even any like. There aren't many twos, so like getting to 3 is like a big deal. And now I found out you don't have the latest liftoff, so I got to get that to you. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for being on so late. One last question. Well, like right at the beginning, your dog. Oh, there's your dog again. That was crazy timing. I was on screen. Is he wearing? Is he? Well, he jumped onto the bed.
Oh, that was the other dog. So, 2 dogs.
Okay, hold on. But which both 2 dogs? Is one of the dogs wearing cargo shorts? Did it just look that way, or am I crazy?
They're not cargo.
I mean, not
shorts.
cargo.
They are. So she's
camo shorts.
She's wearing an old. She's wearing an old T-shirt and kids, like sweatpants.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's got allergies, so we put those on her so she doesn't scratch holes into her butt. Otherwise, she will because she's allergic to like the list we got back was like 300 different things. I'm like,
okay.
Oh,
I just was like, I just want to make sure it wasn't crazy. That's all. I want to go back to that moment in the video and see it again. But
no, there's a good chance in my house if you think you saw something weird about an animal, it was definitely true.
Awesome.
So we are outnumbered here.
Oh, crazy. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, and thanks so much for being on the show.
No, thanks for having me, Edo.
Okay. Bye. Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.